Big Bang Theory. The Quantum Quirks. Chapter 1. A Quantum Conundrum. The sun was beginning to set over Pasadena, and Penny was eagerly anticipating a quiet evening with Leonard. As they settled on the couch, Leonard deep in a physics journal and Penny scrolling through her phone, there was an unexpected knock on their door. "I bet it's Sheldon forgetting his keys again," Penny muttered, pushing herself up from the couch. But instead of finding their tall, lanky neighbor, she was met with a sizable, oddly shaped package. "Leonard, did you order something that looks, well, scientific?" Leonard squinted, adjusting his glasses. "I don't think so, unless they've started shipping comic books in nerd-shaped boxes." Penny smirked, rolling her eyes. "Well, open it up, genius." Leonard grabbed a pair of scissors and began cutting through the tape. As the cardboard flaps fell open, both their eyes widened in shock. "Is that a quantum computer prototype?" "It has to be Sheldon's," Penny concluded. "You think he'd have learned his lesson about having things shipped here after that radioactive spider incident?" Leonard shuddered, recalling the small panic attack that followed. "Let's not remind me." Suddenly, Howard's voice filled the room as he burst in, holding a letter. "Guys, you won't believe what I found in the mailroom. A letter addressed to Sheldon from the Quantum Computing Excellence Contest." Leonard glanced at the opened package. "Makes sense. Only Sheldon would enter a contest that sounds made up and actually win." Penny chuckled, grabbing the letter from Howard. "Let's see, at Dear Dr. Cooper, congratulations on your impressive entry. We were particularly intrigued by the mention of your secret project." Howard's eyebrows shot up. "Secret project? What secret project?" Leonard shrugged. Before the Nobel, Sheldon was always up to something. "Remember when he tried to merge string theory with his mom's spaghetti recipe?" Howard nodded, smirking. "Ah, yes. Pasta strings. Classic Sheldon." Penny continued, "We would be eager to hear more about your secret endeavor. Please consider this prototype as an invitation to further discussion." The trio exchanged puzzled glances. What had Sheldon been working on before his life was consumed by Nobel Prize responsibilities? From the hallway, Amy's voice echoed. "Sheldon, why is there a package for you at Leonard and Penny's again? Is this another one of your attempts to introduce chaos theory into our lives?" Chapter 2. The Astronaut's Surprise. The following morning, Howard was perusing the Wolowitz family mail when he stumbled upon a letter with the familiar NASA emblem. "Bernie, why is NASA writing to me? I already told them I'm not doing any more space toilets," he said, tearing open the envelope. Bernadette, while trying to put Hallie's hair in a ponytail, replied sarcastically, "Maybe they want to name a planet after you. Planet Whiny." Howard rolled his eyes but stopped short when he read the contents of the letter. "They want me for another mission. Not plumbing this time. An actual research mission." Bernadette, pausing her hairdressing efforts, turned to Howard with an incredulous look. "You in space? Again? We discussed this, remember?" He glanced at her with a sheepish expression. "I might have left my name in their interested list. Just for funsies." Meanwhile, across the hall, Amy was tidying up when she stumbled upon a small, worn-out diary underneath Sheldon's spot on the couch. Opening it, her eyes widened at the sight of Sheldon's meticulous notes on a world-changing experiment. Back at the Wolowitz residence, Raj entered with a plate of samosas. "Heard about your space news? But don't worry, buddy. If you go back into space, you'll at least be the second most famous astronaut from our group." Howard smirked yes, because spending a few seconds in zero gravity in a suborbital flight definitely counts. Raj raised an eyebrow, teasing, "At least I didn't scream like a girl when I went up." Bernadette interjected, "Boys, enough. Howard, we have kids now. You can't just jet off into space." Howard looked solemn for a moment. "I know, Bernie, it's just space is cool, and think of the toys I could bring back for the kids." She sighed. "They've got enough toys. What they need is their father on Earth." Across the hall, Amy excitedly rang Penny. "Penny, I found Sheldon's old diary. It's full of notes on an experiment he was working on before the Nobel frenzy. You won't believe what he was up to." Penny, amidst her morning workout, replied, "Does it involve trains or obscure comic book references?" Amy chuckled. "No, but it might just change the world." The day was filled with revelations of Sheldon's secretive past projects and Howard's potential return to the stars. Little did they know, these discoveries were just the beginning of an adventure none of them saw coming. Chapter 3. Raj's Bollywood Dream. The Caltech cafeteria was buzzing as usual. Raj, looking more dapper than usual in a sharp suit, was explaining to the group why he had dressed up for the day. "You look like you're auditioning for James Bond," Leonard quipped, trying to balance his tray without dropping anything. Rajay smirked. "Not quite, Leonard. I've been approached by a Bollywood director. He's interested in making a film about my life as an astrophysicist here." Penny looked intrigued. "So, like Slumdog Millionaire meets Interstellar?" "Something like that." Rajay nodded, "but more dancing and less Matthew McConaughey." Sheldon, looking skeptical, chimed in. So they're going to make a movie about an astrophysicist who couldn't talk to women unless he was drunk and had an obsession with cinnamon. His dog, Raj, unfazed, retorted, "Well, when you put it like that, it sounds like a hit." Amy laughed. "I'll definitely watch it, but only if Sheldon gets to play himself." Sheldon pondered, "Do I get to sing and dance?" The group exchanged amused glances. Penny responded, "I'd pay to see that." As evening approached, the gang congregated in Leonard and Penny's apartment for movie night. Penny decided on a sci-fi flick, knowing it'd be right up everyone's alley. Halfway through the movie, Sheldon couldn't contain himself anymore. "This representation of wormholes is entirely inaccurate." Leonard, munching on popcorn, responded, "It's just a movie, Sheldon, not a documentary." Sheldon shot back, "If they're going to represent science, they should do it accurately. Wormholes don't just appear out of nowhere." Raj interjected, "Actually, according to quantum physics." Before he could complete his sentence, Howard jumped in. "Speaking of movies, I've been thinking, if Raj's movie gets made, who would play me?" Bernadette smirked. "A shorter version of Brad Pitt?" Howard winked. "I was thinking more like Johnny Depp." The movie was paused more times than they could count as debates over quantum mechanics, space-time, and the feasibility of lightsabers dominated the night. It ended with Sheldon drawing diagrams on a whiteboard to explain the inaccuracies, with Penny just shaking her head. "I just wanted to watch a movie." As they all left for the night, Raj felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation about his potential Bollywood fame, while the rest pondered the real-life implications of their favorite fictional worlds. Chapter 4. The Nobel Mix-Up. Sheldon is meticulously packing a suitcase, ensuring every shirt was folded to his precise measurements. Amy looked on with a mix of amusement and exasperation. "Amy, do you know where my extra antibacterial hand gel is?" Sheldon inquired, his tone filled with urgency. "In the same place it's always been, Sheldon. Next to your emergency bow tie," Amy responded, rolling her eyes. Leonard and Penny walked in, holding bags of takeout. "Ready for the big trip?" Leonard grinned. Penny added, "If you guys get another Nobel, do we get another round of Sheldon Cooper Presents Fun with Flags?" Sheldon considered this. "I hadn't planned on it, but I suppose I could make a special edition." Their laughter was cut short when Sheldon received a call. "Yes, this is Dr. Sheldon Cooper." "What do you mean? We're booked on a flight to Norway. We're supposed to be headed to Stockholm?" Amy glanced at the phone screen, realizing the error. "Sheldon, you clicked on the wrong city when booking." After some frenzied discussions and failed attempts at rerouting, Sheldon turned to the group, despair evident. "We're going to Norway." Leonard tried to lighten the mood. "Well, you always said you wanted to see the Northern Lights." Sheldon, missing the joke, retorted, "It's not Aurora season, Leonard." As Sheldon and Amy left for their unintentional adventure, Leonard and Penny settled into their temporary roles as babysitters for Hallie and Michael. Penny attempted to set ground rules. "Okay, so no jumping on the couch." As if on cue, both kids started jumping. Leonard added, "And definitely no." Before he could finish, Hallie spilled juice all over the coffee table. Penny sighed, "This is going to be a long night." Over in Norway, Sheldon and Amy found themselves amidst a fjord tour. Sheldon was muttering about the inaccuracy of Viking helmets in popular culture when Amy, gazing at the serene waters, said, "You know, Sheldon, sometimes it's okay if things don't go as planned." He considered this, then responded, "I suppose this view is a statistically significant consolation." Back in Pasadena, after a messy dinner, bath time shenanigans, and 3 bedtime story repetitions, Leonard and Penny finally managed to get the kids to sleep, collapsing onto the couch. Leonard remarked, "That was harder than my quantum mechanics finals." Penny chuckled, "Makes you appreciate Bernadette's tiny yet scary mom energy." Leonard nodded, "Definitely. Let's never do that again." Penny agreed, "Deal." As the screen faded, Penny and Leonard, exhausted but content, snuggled up on the couch, while halfway across the world, Amy and Sheldon looked out over the majestic Norwegian landscape, finding unexpected beauty in an unplanned detour. Chapter 5. The Comic-Con Caper. The living room of apartment 4AI was in chaos. Sheldon was frantically turning cushions over and sifting through papers. Leonard was double-checking a large envelope. "I'm sure I placed the Comic-Con tickets right here," Leonard exclaimed, pointing at the coffee table. Raj chimed in, "Guys, are we sure we didn't just misplace them? I once found my car keys in the fridge." It was a confusing week. Amy sighed with Sheldon's organizational OCD. The odds of that happening are less likely than him admitting he's wrong. Sheldon, not even looking up, retorted, "Which I would admit if it ever happened." Penny entered with a drink in hand. "Why don't you just print them again?" "They were VIP backstage passes." "Penny," Leonard cried, "not just any ticket?" Howard, joining the group, I've seen enough movies to know that when something valuable goes missing, you hire a detective." Sheldon's eyes lit up. "I have just the guy. My Meemaw's neighbor's grandson became a private investigator. He helped locate her lost cat, Whiskers. The scene switched to a quirky-looking detective in his late 20s, wearing a trench coat and fedora, sitting across from the group. Detective Dylan Drummond was examining the ticket's last known location with a magnifying glass. Dylan looked up. So you're saying these tickets were the golden tickets to Geek Paradise, and now they've vanished? Leonard nodded. Exactly. Can you help? Dylan smirked. Of course. The game's afoot. Meanwhile, over at the comics bookstore, Stuart was having a heart-to-heart with Denise. You know, with us moving in together, it might mean fewer comic book debates and more debates about which dish soap to buy. Denise laughed. As long as we can agree that Batman can defeat anyone with enough prep time, I think we'll be fine. Back at apartment 4A, Dylan had a whiteboard full of theories and suspects. Now, who had the opportunity? Sheldon pointed to Raj. Raj did mention he wanted to meet the cast of Space Vixens 3s really badly. Rage defended, hey, I also wanted to meet the theoretical physicist who consulted on that movie. It's not just about the Vixens. After hours of questioning, Howard had an idea. Wait, I did let Bert in here the other day to show him my new astronaut ice cream, Raj exclaimed. Bert? But he's the most innocent geologist we know. Sure enough, when they visited Bert's apartment, they found him in tears, holding the tickets. I just wanted to feel included for once. I didn't think you'd notice they were gone, Sheldon consoled. It's okay, Bert. Next time, just ask. We would have gladly let you tag along. The group decided to give Bert one of their tickets. As they left, Dylan, expecting payment, handed Sheldon an invoice. Sheldon examined it. You charge by the mystery. That's a curious pricing model. Dylan shrugged. It's no more curious than string theory. As they laughed, the scene transitioned back to the comic book store where Stuart and Denise, after their discussion, put up a close for date night sign, illustrating their step forward in their relationship. Chapter 6. Amy's Ancestry Adventures. Amy rushed into apartment 4A with a wide-eyed look of surprise. Guys, you won't believe this, she exclaimed, holding up a piece of paper. Sheldon peered at it. Is that the result from the ancestry test you took? I hope you're not related to Will Wheaton. Amy rolled her eyes. No, Sheldon. It says I'm related to Marie Curie. Leonard whistled. Wow, that's impressive. She's a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. Sheldon smirked, which means she's just like us, Amy. Except, you know, with radium. Penny chimed in. Isn't that the glow-in-the-dark stuff? Howard chuckled. Yeah, Penny, because Nobel Prizes are given for things that glow in the dark. Amy continued. It's so fascinating to think that I have the blood of such an iconic scientist flowing through me. Sheldon looked contemplative. I wonder if that means our children will be thrice Nobel laureates. Once for each grandparent, and then for their own genius. Raj pondered. Or maybe they'll just glow in the dark. Elsewhere at Howard and Bernadette's house, Bernadette was visibly stressed as Howard excitedly packed for his space mission, continuously rambling about zero gravity and space food. Penny dropped by, wine bottle in hand. Girl talk emergency. Bernadette sighed. I can't handle Howard's constant space talk. I get it. He's an astronaut again. Penny consoled. At least you don't have a husband who's obsessed with glowy ancestors. Want to trade? Later at the Caltech cafeteria, Sheldon was engrossed in a thick book titled The Curies, A Legacy. Leonard noted, you're really going all in with this Curie thing, huh? Sheldon looked up. I just need to ensure that there's no family curse or anything. Raj mused. A curse? What, like every second generation turns into a glow stick? Back at the Wolowitz residence, Penny offered some advice to Bernadette. You know, you could distract Howard by getting into his interests. Maybe talk about rockets. Bernadette sighed. I tried. He just started explaining the difference between a thruster and a booster. I zoned out after the first sentence. Penny smiled. Then maybe it's time to remind him about the boosters in your relationship. At dinner that night, Bernadette surprised Howard with a romantic space-themed date night complete with astronaut ice cream and star-shaped cookies. Howard beamed. You did all this for me? Bernadette grinned. Just a small step for our relationship, but a giant leap to remind you that Earth isn't so bad. As they cuddled on the couch, watching a space movie, Howard whispered, I promise, once I'm back, no more space talk. Back at apartment 4A, Amy sighed as Sheldon showed her yet another Curie family tree diagram. Sheldon, as honored as I am, I don't think this means we need to change our names to Curie Cooper. Looked up. Well, it was worth a shot. The gang laughed as they try out a DIY, radium-free glow-in-the-dark experiment, lighting up the room with more than just luminescence, but with friendship as well. Chapter 7. The Mystery of Leonard's Lab. The Caltech physics lab was unusually silent, save for the frantic footsteps of Leonard as he rummaged through his workspace, looking disheveled and exasperated. Where could it have gone? He murmured, skimming through the neatly labeled folders. Meanwhile, at apartment 4A, Sheldon and Amy were engrossed in a physics journal when Leonard burst in. Guys, I need your help. Sheldon looked up, visibly annoyed. Can't you see we're in the middle of something important? They might have discovered a particle that's even more elusive than my patience. Leonard took a deep breath. My confidential experiment has gone missing from the lab. I've looked everywhere. Amy's face contorted in concern. Oh, Leonard, that sounds serious. Rage entered, brandishing a flashy Bollywood-style costume, but stopped upon sensing the tension. Did I pick the wrong time to ask for fashion advice? Penny, trying to console Leonard, said, Sweetie, maybe you just misplaced it. Leonard responded, No, Penny. It's not like misplacing socks in the laundry. This is a groundbreaking experiment. Sheldon mulled it over. All right, if we're going to solve this, we need a strategy. We're not dealing with missing Comic-Con tickets this time. This is real science. Ray joked, You mean the kind where Bollywood isn't making a musical about it? While Leonard brought the group up to speed, Bernadette and Howard joined the gathering, intrigued by the unfolding drama. They divided tasks, and the gang became an impromptu team of science detectives. Sheldon proposed, First, we need to list down potential suspects, any rival physicists or jealous lab assistants. Leonard pondered, Well, there's Dr. Pemberton. He's been trying to one-up me for years. Penny chuckled, Oh, the tall dude who can't differentiate between a neutron and a crouton. Amy set up her laptop and began accessing the lab's security footage. Let's see if we can catch our thief in the act. Hours went by with the gang analyzing footage, cross-referencing schedules, and interviewing Leonard's colleagues. Raj, meanwhile, received frequent calls from the Bollywood director, each time demanding a more exaggerated version of his astrophysicist character. Exasperated, Raj complained, Now they want me to dance around the black hole singing about quantum entanglement. Howard chuckled, Now that's a love song I'd like to hear. Amidst their sleuthing, Bernadette had a thought. Leonard, remember when Howard used the lab for a space equipment demo last week? Maybe someone sneaked in then? Leonard's eyes widened. You might be onto something. Back at the lab, the gang discovered an anomaly in the footage. A shadowy figure had indeed entered behind Howard during the equipment demo. Enhancing the video revealed Dr. Pemberton sneaking a peek at Leonard's notes. Confronting Dr. Pemberton at Caltech, they learned that while he had taken a look at Leonard's experiment out of curiosity, he hadn't stolen it. The real culprit was a janitor who had mistaken the experiment for trash. Relieved and exhausted, the gang convened at the Cheesecake Factory for dinner. Penny whispered to Leonard, See, I told you, it was just like the socks. Leonard laughed, Yeah, except these won't be turning up in Sheldon's drawer. As they laughed and joked, Raj's phone buzzed with another call. He answered with a dramatic flair, Yes, director, I do believe in love at the event horizon. Chapter 8, Farewell to the Stars. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the Caltech rooftop in twilight hues. Fairy lights were strewn about, music played softly in the background, and in the center stood a powerful telescope, a nod to Howard's upcoming space journey. Penny adjusted a banner that read, Godspeed, Howard, but not too speedy, we want you back. Bernadette, trying to hold back tears, approached her, Do you think he'll like it? Penny hugged her reassuringly. Oh, honey, he's going to love it. Sheldon, of course, had concerns. Did anyone ensure that the food being served doesn't cause flatulence? We don't want Howard to get any ideas about rocket propulsion. Amy rolled her eyes. Sheldon, it's just a party. Relax. Rage arrived accompanied by a Bollywood film crew. Hope you guys don't mind. They wanted to capture my reaction to my best friend leaving for space. Leonard commented, You mean you wanted them to capture you crying on camera? Raj retorted, Hey, there's a big market for emotional astrophysicists in India. The atmosphere was bittersweet. As the gang reminisced about Howard's first space journey and other past adventures, Sheldon cleared his throat. Amy and I have something to share with all of you. He unveiled a model showcasing their secret project, a revolutionary quantum computer that harnessed the power of their Nobel-winning research. There were gasps of admiration. Penny, feigning understanding, whispered to Leonard, It looks like something out of IKEA, but shinier. Leonard smirked, That's the quantum bit, Penny. Sheldon continued, While Leonard had his experiment mistaken for trash, Amy and I hope to change the world with ours. Amy nudged him. It was a team effort, Sheldon. As accolades poured in, a spaceship-shaped cake was wheeled in for Howard. Bernadette made a heartfelt speech, and there wasn't a dry eye in sight. As the night wore on, they gathered around the telescope, each taking turns to gaze at the vast expanse of the cosmos. Howard, looking pensive, remarked, It's amazing. Every time I look up, I realize how small we are and yet how much we've accomplished together. Raj quipped, And to think we started with arguing about the possibility of the Flash beating Superman in a race. Sheldon nodded, Yes. And for the record, Flash would definitely. Amy interjected, Not tonight, Sheldon. As they laughed and hugged, the vastness of the universe reminded them of the bonds they shared. the memories they'd created, and the infinite possibilities that the future held.